Right, okay, chapter 5, the incident of the letter. This is like your classic crime genre chapter. This is the one where we really get our teeth into what this genre is about, as the lawyer or detective Utterson goes on a mission to try and work out what's going on with his mate. So having found out Jekyll's linked to the murder weapon, he goes straight round his house, and Jekyll's not looking very good at all. He's looking quite like he's barred. He says the dusty windows were barred with iron. There was a fog that lay thickly there. Jekyll was looking deadly sick. He's become quite reclusive, quite withdrawn, and he's hiding out. Okay, basically. And Jekyll, he says that he's actually got nothing to do with Hyde now. He reassures Utterson, his mate, and says, "Look, we've come to an end of our relationship, and look at this letter." He produces this letter, which he says is written by Hyde, and he says that in it says that Hyde's leaving and he won't return and he won't have anything more to do with Jekyll. So good news, eh, Utterson? Utterson's kind of relieved. He's still a little bit unsure why Jekyll looks like this. And he asked him a bit about the will. He says he was really worried about that. He was worried that Jekyll might have come under some sort of danger. But he says, no, it's over now, and it's all good. And Utterson's kind of slightly relieved, but reassured, and he takes the letter and off he goes. He takes the letter as evidence. Now, this is crucial. This is like where the camera would zoom in on the letter, because it's a really important motif at this moment, right? Because he asks Paul, the butler, if you remember, like, who was it that delivered this letter? Like, did you see anyone come to the door? And Paul doesn't know anything about the letter. Like, he says, I never saw anyone arrive, which is the first like dodgy moment. Then Utterson chats with his colleague called Mr Guest, who happens to be an expert in handwriting, and he says, "What do you make of this?" And he's like, "Well, this is Jekyll's handwriting, isn't it?" And he's like, "No, it's Mr Hyde's handwriting, Edward Hyde." He says, "No, that's the same handwriting. It's just slightly lent to one side." It says on the right there, "In many points identical, only differently sloped." And that's where it ends, because you sort of feel like, oh, what's gone on here? Has Jekyll written this, or have they just so happened to have very similar handwriting? And this is a key bit of this. It's this duality again, but in this case, it's to do with handwriting. And handwriting is a very interesting idea, isn't it? Because it's your personality, and no one's got the same handwriting as you. It's like your fingerprint. But in this case, they've got very similar handwritings, i.e. they've got very similar fingerprints, very similar characteristics and characters. So just remember that for next chapters to come. We've got here as well Stevenson presenting the idea of choosing between good and evil, this moral choice which runs throughout this whole book. And it's where Jekyll has decided he's now chosen to be good. He's going to have nothing more to do with the evil Mr Hyde. It is now my choice to be good over evil. And he's made that conscious choice, albeit something that's quite badly affected him, physically and mentally by the looks of it. And the other thing I wanted to talk about in this chapter is it's in terms of genre and form. This is where Stevenson's narrator Utterson, who for the most part of the book is quite a boring character, hasn't really got much of a character really at all. We don't know anything about him other than he likes the occasional drink. You don't know much about his background, where he lives, who he lives with. He is like a classic, reliable narrator, which means we trust him to take us through this story. He is going to hold our hand through it. He is going to be the eyes of this story. He's trusting, he's honourable, he's a curious gentleman, he's a lawyer, so we trust him immediately because he's got that position of authority in society. But what he's doing here, Stevenson, is he's asking us to go along with Utterson, but be as inquisitive as him. So to ask as many questions as Utterson, to be as concerned about society, to dig deeper into the world, rather than just accept things and go, yeah, cool, okay, that must be fine. Then your cane was used in a murder. It's not enough. It's not enough just to allow these things to happen. You have to dig deeper. So Stevenson is encouraging us to be as inquisitive as Utterson at this moment in order to try and solve this crime, but ultimately, in terms of the big ideas, to solve the injustice of society and that imbalance and that contrast between rich and poor. Okay?